Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
The following presentation is controversial and may be offensive to some audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Radio from the heart of America now.
And Friday with Carl Gallups, the Oval Office of Gulf Coast Talk Radio.
All right, welcome back, Gulf Coast. Welcome back, America. Welcome back, world. So glad to have you with us. Sea to shining sea, and you are in the Oval Office of Gulf Coast Talk Radio, and we're broadcasting live today right here from the Gulf Coast. We broadcast to portions of 4 states on the Gulf Coast through this 25,000-watt radio station, Mega Giant, the most powerful AM station from Tampa, Florida to New Orleans, Louisiana. But, of course, we podcast, and we stream live over the internet, and we stream live over your smartphone, and it will be posted tomorrow at Freedom Friday's webpage. Go to carlgallups.com, click on anything that says Freedom Friday. It'll take you straight to that internationally acclaimed website. At least that's what Google statistics are telling us. Google analysis, that they say we've got listeners to that show by the many thousands from 6 continents, dozens of nations piling into that website every day. So we're excited about that. Thank you guys, all of you that are listening, and then those of you that listen and like the show and you're telling other people about it all around the world. We appreciate that. Well, listen, we're at the top of the second hour. My next guest is attorney Larry Klayman. He's the founder of Judicial Watch and Freedom Watch. And during his tenure at Judicial Watch, Larry Klayman obtained a court ruling that Bill Clinton committed a crime, the first lawyer ever to have done so against an American president. Larry Klayman became so famous for fighting that corruption in the government and the legal profession that NBC's hit drama series West Wing created a character after him. Those of you that watched West Wing, and I did several times, I own the series, Harry Claypool of Freedom Watch. That was after Larry Klayman of Judicial Watch at the time. But then, anyway, Larry did found the website Freedom Watch. And Larry's a smart dude. He speaks 4 languages. He's an international attorney. He's the author of 2 books. He's got a 3rd one coming out very soon, WND Books. You can buy his books and find his books at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Borders, all major stores, WND.com. He's also a frequent commentator on television and radio, as well as weekly columnist on Fridays for WND.com. He writes a regular blog for Newsmax called Klayman's Court. Larry Klayman, it's good to have you back on Freedom Friday, my friend.
Carl, great to hear from you, my good friend.
Yeah, listen, I'm very excited about this because we played a clip last week of you and talking about Dennis Montgomery, and I'll let you remind everybody who he is. I'll let you tell his story, but it's exciting. We're going to play this clip again and let you just go off on that because this story needs to be heard. Dennis Montgomery's story needs to be heard. Your involvement with him needs to be heard, and as we were talking offline, and I want to remind our listeners that listen to this show, all the way back in 2013, I became introduced to Dennis Montgomery through Mike Zullo, and when Mike Zullo and Sheriff Arpaio were dealing with Dennis Montgomery, former contract CIA worker, and Mike Zullo's been on my show several times talking about some of Montgomery's revelations when it became appropriate for him to do so. And I remember talking to Dennis Montgomery several times on the phone, even praying with him one time when he was in some terrible health condition. And Larry, I remember when Mike Zullo hooked you and Dennis up so that he could get some immunity with the FBI. I want you to tell our folks about all of that. But Larry, can I play this little clip? It's 1 minute long. Then I'm going to hush and let you do all the talking after that, okay? All right, folks, let me set it up. This was, I think, a Newsmax television interview, and Larry Klayman, I've got a 1 minute clip where he says something. It's in context. If it's out of context, Larry can get it straight, but what he says is profound, and it kind of is a setup for everything else you're going to hear Larry and I talk about. So, JC, if you'd hit that clip.
Why did he have to use that nefarious way of getting it out? It's sleazy. And frankly, it's illegal. It's a crime. That's a government document, and he leaked it. And this is a segue into the case that I filed in the last few days. You can find it at freedomwatchusa.org. But my client, Dennis Montgomery, that we've talked about on this show, who left the NSA, CIA, DIA with over 600 million pages of information showing illegal surveillance on the Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court, other justices, hundreds of judges, President Trump when he was a businessman, and his family and his associates, and even me. This is Comey. He was involved in that, And we gave all that to him. We didn't know it at the time, but it's come out in the last few weeks. The FBI was doing a lot of this illegal surveillance with the intelligence agencies. And now he has leaked documents on top of that. I sued him 2 days ago on behalf of Mr. Montgomery and myself because our cell phones and computers have been breached in the last 3 months. We've been surveyed ourselves again. And I sued him for obstruction of justice. So if anyone has committed an obstruction of justice here, it's James Comey, not the President of the United States. But of course, to get these intelligence committees to look at it is almost impossible. Senator Richard Burr is like a lapdog when it comes to coordinating with the minority ranking member, Warner. He said nothing at the outset, yet Warner goes ahead and viciously assaults the president verbally, and Burr sits there watching. You know, the Democrats have become the party of evil, and the Republicans have been the party of do nothing. And that's a very dangerous situation up there right now. The president's and his White House are being ground to a halt, and the presidency is in jeopardy, and the people of the United States are not getting any action on any front except this dog and pony show.
Wow. Larry Klayman, what a mouthful. We could do 2 hours just on that minute and 5 seconds, but you just comment as you wish on all of that.
You know, it extends, Carl, beyond Comey. Comey obviously should be subject to investigation. He should be indicted, you know, for what he was privy to. Yeah. And our lawsuit, I'm preparing right now a motion for temporary restraining order and preliminary injunction. We're going to go into the court very quickly in the next week or so and have Judge Leon, who we filed our first NSA case with, where we won 2 preliminary injunctions. Leon found that this was a violation of the Fourth Amendment, almost Orwellian, big brother-like. But Comey really is the one who has committed the crimes here, not the president. But Dennis Montgomery will also tell you that when he was an NSA CIA contractor, that he worked with Robert Mueller of the FBI, you know, Comey's friend, the special counsel. So Mueller is implicated in the same illegal surveillance going back, you know, after 2001. So it shows you, you know, really what goes on in Washington. When someone says that he's a man of integrity, as all these pundits say about Mueller and about Comey, and they did it one time anyway about Comey, look out. Yeah. Because there are very few people of integrity in Washington where I am today. And, you know, it's a cesspool of corruption, and now we're on the verge of a civil war, Carl. I mean, we saw what happened in the last few days in Alexandria, Virginia, the attack by Bernie Sanders supporter against congressmen and senators and their staffs, vicious shooting. And here's the irony. The president is being investigated for so-called Russian connection. Now, you have Bernie Sanders, who's a socialist. Bernie Sanders, who honeymooned in Moscow, if you can believe that.
Right, I know.
Bernie Sanders, whose supporter just shot up, you know, a lot of Capitol Hill. Is that a Russian connection? Yeah. I mean, it shows you how absurd this whole thing is. You know, so Dennis Montgomery holds the key. Dennis Montgomery can bring down both Mueller and Comey. And we filed this lawsuit, and we're going to press hard. And thank you for, you know, publicizing it, because it's very tough to get this out these days with everything that's going on in Washington and around the country. There's a crisis every single day.
I know.
But this is perhaps the biggest scandal in American history.
Yeah. And Larry, I feel your pain, because back when I was heavily associated with Sheriff Arpaio and Mike Zullo and that investigation, which, by the way, is still just wide open, and of course it's all interconnected to this, I can remember people just getting in Mike Zullo's face, you know, on the internet. Why haven't you done anything? Why aren't you and Arpaio doing anything? Well, back in the day, what were you going to do? I mean, Obama was in office. You're going to take it to the DOJ? You're going to take it to James Comey? You're going to take it to Loretta Lynch? You're going to take it to Obama? You're going to take it to the federal court? You're going to take it to a complicit Congress and a complicit media? What are you going to do? Now Donald Trump's in office, who's the one that got Obama to put that birth certificate up there in 2011 and started this whole thing, which brought Dennis Montgomery to Sheriff Arpaio, et cetera, et cetera. You know, and of course, now look what they're doing, trying to get him out of there. And I'm telling you, Larry, and you can disagree with me if you like, but it's my opinion that a lot of what they're doing to Trump is connected to what you know, what Dennis knows, and what Arpaio knows. They don't want Trump having the power to break this wide open.
That's right. I mean, we talk about the deep state. You've heard a lot about that.
Yes.
Trump is the president, but he's basically barricaded in the White House. Everybody's against him. Not everybody, but most people are against him in Washington, the so-called deep state. The government continues to be run by Obama, Clinton, and leftist loyalists. even inside the Department of Justice. Poor Jeff Sessions, lawyer, and I've encountered him over the years. Is a fine man. He's an honest man, but he's not even in control of his own Department of Justice, my alma mater.
Yeah.
So we have to fight hard. Dennis can bring them all down if anyone will listen to him, and if anyone will take it seriously. And of course, we have our court case, where we hope to bring it forward and get an injunction against this illegal surveillance. But we have a police state. We have an Orwellian state. There is a power even more powerful than the President of the United States, these intelligence agents.
Yes.
And I believe that the committees on Capitol Hill that I've been now lobbying for months to bring in Dennis, to talk to him, to have him testify, they don't want to do it because if they push too hard on those intelligence agencies, I call it the Anthony Weiner factor. Information is going to start to fly out of the NSA's files, the CIA's files, and FBI's files about them, and will destroy their personal lives. This is a Sodom and Gomorrah here, on Capitol Hill. It's unbelievable.
And Larry, I'm convinced a lot of Congress is complicit, and I don't necessarily mean criminally complicit, although I think some of them are, but they're at least politically complicit, and some of them are complicit because of silence, and some of them have been silenced because of the spying.
That's right. And they've known about it. They want to some extent, Chairman Nunes of the House Intel Committee wants to get into the leaks with regard to General Mike Flynn and others, but he doesn't want to get into. I wrote him a long letter, and I copied it on all the Republicans in that committee. I copied it on the Democrats. I spoke with one of his legal counsel about it, and they ignore this bigger issue of this mass surveillance against hundreds of millions of Americans, which was confirmed just a few weeks ago in a story by Circa News, John Solomon and Sarah Carter, that even the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court has now confirmed that this illegal surveillance has continued on millions of Americans, despite the fact that I got these injunctions ordering them to stop. So they're in contempt.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is the biggest threat, because you can't do any business. The president can't do anything on behalf of the American people without being surveilled by these agencies and then blackmailed potentially, although I don't think Trump would be blackmailed, but you can see what's happening. They're trying to destroy him. Yeah.
And a lot of the things that you're describing, they are deeply criminal at multiple levels, and something has to be done. Larry, we're going to have to take a quick time out. When we come back, I want you to delve deeper into Dennis Montgomery's story, where you are with all of this. I know you can only speak in generalities, but give the audience some idea of the kind of stuff that Dennis Montgomery knows, okay?
I will.
All right, good deal. Folks, let's take a time out. You're listening live in the Oval Office of Gulf Coast Talk Radio. Freedom Friday with Carl Gallups. Larry Klayman is my guest. He is the attorney for Dennis Montgomery, the CIA contract worker whistleblower that could bring down this whole house of cards. And you're hearing it on Freedom Friday. We'll be right back after this timeout. Don't go anywhere.
There is a place very far from this world. And in a moment, you will be transported to this place. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome.
Radio from the heart of America now.
And now, the Commander-in-Chief is back. Freedom Friday with Carl Gallups, the Oval Office of Gulf Coast Talk Radio.
All right, folks, we are back in the Oval Office. Somebody shut the door. Sit down. Prop your feet up. Get a cup of coffee. Whatever. Glass of tea, because we've got Larry Klayman in the house with us. Attorney Larry Klayman used to work for the Department of Justice, and many, I mean, his you need to read his bio at his website. It's unbelievable. But right now, he is, of course, the attorney for Dennis Montgomery, who is the former CIA contract worker who has now total immunity, I think, Larry, you can correct me if I say anything wrong, from the FBI, and to testify if anybody would ever do anything with this. But Larry represents Dennis Montgomery, who is the whistleblower from CIA, who's already turned over, 47 hard drives, I think, or something, tons
and
of
600 million pages of documentation on those hard drives.
Yeah. Well, tell people, listen, let me just hush. They want to hear from you. Tell people how you're affiliated with Dennis, who Dennis is, a little bit of the history and background, and then just really take us into where we are now in relation to the Comey testimony and the investigation against Trump and how all this ties in. So you go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a little brief summary, but if people want to see more about it, they can go to our website at freedomwatchusa.org. Yep. Freedomwatchusa.org. We'll hope they'll support us. But let me give you it in a nutshell. I met Dennis Montgomery through Mike Zullo.
Mm-hmm.
Because Mike and the sheriff were investigating the breach of confidentiality and privacy with over 5,000 citizens in Arizona.
Right.
Dennis was also assisting Sheriff Arpaio in disencrypting, that is, peeling back the layers on that phony birth certificate that Obama put on the White House website, where he, sought to claim that he was born in Hawaii, which
right.
It's a fraudulent birth certificate. Wherever he's born, that's another issue. I think he was born in Kenya, but that's neither here nor there in terms of the false birth certificate. But that's how I met Dennis. And I remember him saying to me, he says, Larry, they surveyed you in 2007. They got your banking records on Brickell Key when you were in Miami, when we lived there. Now I live in Boca Raton. But, it was uncanny, the information he has. And he has information that President Trump, his family, his associates, the Trump Tower, everybody around him has been illegally surveilled, for many years. And not just him, but the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, John Roberts. You have to ask yourself the question, why did Roberts flip on Obamacare and making that terrible ruling, frankly unconstitutional ruling, upholding Obamacare? Did they have something on Roberts that they used to blackmail him to flip at the last minute? Because he was going to rule with the other justices on the court, the other conservative justices. And that's the real threat here. That's the real danger, is that these agencies, and they can be used by someone like Obama or Hillary Clinton or whoever, can blackmail people and make rules. Yeah. And that helps explain it. I have a friend, Carl, in Los Angeles named David Marconi. He loves Trump, by the way. He's not leftist. I mean, he's not. He is somewhat left, but he loves Trump because he has seen that the government has become so frankly corrupt and evil that honest people, even a few of them on the left, can appreciate the surveillance state. And David wrote the famous movie Enemy of the State with Gene Hackman, which forecast what was going to happen. He forecast Montgomery before Montgomery came forward.
Wow.
It's just, we live in a different world, and it's very, very dangerous. And, now everybody on the left in particular are trying to destroy our president, and it's really our last chance. If Trump does not survive, if we cannot allow him to do his job and get the monkey off his back of these intelligence agencies and the leaks and the corruption inside of our justice institutions, we won't have a country left.
And Larry, all that you know and all that I know, and I'm a little player in this, but I was brought into the Zullo-Arpaio investigation and deputized by Sheriff Arpaio, but still, there's tons of stuff about all that I don't know. But all that you know, all that Mike Zullo knows, all that Sheriff Arpaio knows, all that Dennis Montgomery knows, with forensically gathered information, courtroom ready, and none of it has ever been vetted before any legal investigative committee. None of it. Yet they're investigating Trump at this point on nothing. Not a single soul has come forward with a piece of forensic evidence that Trump has done anything wrong, yet they're investigating him and declaring him guilty in the headlines every day. And yet you are sitting on a mountain. Dennis Montgomery sitting on a mountain. Mike Zullo sitting on a mountain of forensic information verified, and none of it has been vetted. What do you think? Go ahead. No.
Yeah, it shows you how compromised and corrupt it is in Washington, D.C. That every institution of government is broken down except for the presidency, and they're trying to destroy him. Now they're trying to destroy Vice President Pence as well. They got to take them both out. Because if they just take Trump out, Pence is going to be president. So Pence just hired a lawyer yesterday, a criminal defense lawyer. Yeah. They're trying to link him in with Jared Kushner, the president's son-in-law, and with Mike Flynn and everybody else. And it is really us against them, Carl. I've got an article coming out in WorldNet Daily tonight. The nation on the brink of civil war. That's where we are right now. I don't advocate violence.
No.
I advocate the contrary. But frankly, if the left keeps pushing like this, the combination of leftists on Capitol Hill like Pelosi, and Schumer and others that are trying to destroy the president. You've got the leftist media with the granddaddy of all dishonest cable networks, CNN and others.
Right.
You've got the Washington Post, the New York Times, the LA Times. You've got leftist Hollywood that is staging mock assassinations of the president with glee. And then you've got the courts. And that offends me the most because I'm a lawyer, a trial lawyer of 40 years. And you've got these judges viciously raiding and taking down the president in court orders. This judge in the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals here in Virginia, wrote that Trump's a racist just a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
So if you add all that together, you can see that we are in a civil war. And now with what happened in Alexandria, with that Bernie supporter shooting up members of Congress and the Senate, it's about all hell's ready to break loose. Excuse the language.
Yeah.
But I don't think, and I pray that doesn't happen, I don't think that the far right in this country and the militias and others, I don't think they're going to take it sitting down.
Right.
And I pray that doesn't happen, but I think we're in for a very bloody period. I really do.
Well, no, those are my sentiments exactly. And Larry, we're going to have to go. I hear the music. We're going to have you back on. I don't know if Dennis would ever want to come on with you or if he can, but we might even arrange that. But certainly we'll have you back. You've got a lot more to tell. Thank you so much for this segment. We'll make sure.
God bless you, Carl.
God bless you. We're going to make sure we post this all over the internet.
Thanks, brother. Send me the link and I'll get it out too because people need to hear this.
I will. I'll send it to you.
You're fantastic.
I'll send it to you tomorrow. God bless you, Larry. Thanks.
Take care. Bye.
All right. Well, folks, you're listening to Freedom Friday. Carl Gallups. Well, coming right up in just a moment. Lieutenant Mark